But to answer your question, I would have to say Mr. Freeze.
Mr.
Why is it
Freeze
because he reminds you of Josh with his glasses on?
No, I think it's his backstory. It's such a tragic backstory, and the reasons why he's doing it. You know, even Arnold Schwarzenegger tried to tap into some of that. It's like he's doing it because of his wife.
Yeah.
And it's just like the idea of being like stuck in that suit for life and forever, and always have to be cold. And I think was it in the animated series, if I recall, where he finally like feels the heat or something, or is it in the comic that Scott Snyder wrote? There was one Scott Snyder wrote a really good Mr. Freeze story. It was like supposed
That
to be like
one
a
shot
tiny.
one?
It was an annual.
Yeah,
And
the
Greg
one shot annual.
Capullo killed it on the pencils. It was so good, and it tapped into the way they wrote him in Batman the Animated Series. But he found a way to make it his own, and made you like Mr. Freeze a lot more.
Fuzzy says that Clayface is the best.
Oh,
no, he's one of the top 10, one of the normal top 10s. Sorry,
Lewis says Spawn is the best Batman villain because of the Spawn versus Batman comic.
That's true. They did fight.
Okay, so as we're waiting for,
let's just
he
call
took a
it.
battering to the face.
As we're waiting for the tallies to come in for the obscure Batman villains, we'll transition into the actual villains, and I think Jose gave it a good start with Mr. Freeze. I'm gonna go into Rage, Raz Al Ghul. I think it's a great character because of him being a launching point for so many different stories in Batman's modern era. You got the Talia and Damian as the new Robin, and then you have just Red Hood. There's just so many stories tied into him that go outside of him just being a regular villain that Batman fights and puts an arc in and goes back about his day. I do like the depth of Mr. Freeze that Jose brought, but I think that Mr. Al Ghul has got some just broad reaching villainy that crosses over into a lot of different other characters. And he's like the oak that all of the other fruits branch off of.
John Padilla's favorite obscure Batman villain is Scooby-Doo.
They teamed up. They weren't villains.
That's good.
What's the best Batman team up?
Let's keep going here. We're going. We can go to the team up.
Well,
that's a different list, Jose. We're sticking with this one. Nate's sticking with a theme.
you know what? I was gonna go with Mr. Freeze, and Jose stole it for all of the right reasons. He's the one Batman bad guy that you can sympathize with, that you can totally, if I looked at all of Batman's enemies, Mr. Freeze is the one that I could most easily see being because of his motivations. It's definitely well within the realm of the reasonableness that a husband would have for his beloved wife.
Aww. Thanks, honey.
He does have beloved. A heart. Josh does have a heart. Aww.
Shut up.
Okay.
Well, my pick, Fuzzy already picked them. I was going to say Clayface. It was going to be both one of my favorites from what Josh questioned, and then also my top 10. Clayface, I mean, this is a guy that could be anyone, yet it's sad that even though he has those kind of powers, it's self-sabotage all the time and can't, he can't be a winner. He's always a loser. I mean, those just the way they draw him, especially on the Batman animated series, looks so cool. And that's one of my favorites.
Sure.
I think character design across the board on Batman the Animated Series, dude. Like, that's why Bruce Timm's a fucking legend. Him and that whole Kevin Altieri, too, he needs to get shouted out more, too, because he was doing a lot of those storyboards also.
It was the master of simplicity. It was that show was just it's freaking timeless. You want to talk about late to the party and something having a classicness. Those things are never, but they never do, and I don't think they ever will have a scene dated. All right, so
Like,
we got
dude,
Mr.
the
Freeze.
Riddler, the way he had the Riddler dress, like so, like how would you even call that? Like just clean as hell. The way he drew the Scarecrow.
Suave.
Yes.
The Riddler dressed because he's intelligent. That's suave, sophisticated man with a cane and the bowler hat and the suit and tie and all that stuff. Yeah, I like that version of the Riddler. It didn't make him like a goof or an oaf. And even when he would say his riddles still came across very poetic and very, you know what I mean? It was, like he was very suave the way he did it. It was kind of like the James Bond version of Riddlers. He's just
plus he always felt that he was smarter than Batman, and like he could tell that he had that, panache, like just attitude.
I think what we also underappreciated the voice acting, because it was great selections too across the board, like Mark Hamill, Kevin Conroy, everybody.
My favorite villain, surprise, surprise, is a girl.
Poison
I like
Ivy.
Poison Ivy. I love Poison Ivy. She's one of those. She's another one of those like. She's one of those flip-flop characters. She could be a villain, or she could be not necessarily a hero, but at the same time, her motivations are her own, and she can flip-flop with what she thinks is right. And I like all that. I like, with the exception of Uma Thurman's iteration, I like just about every version of her that they've like written and have done from the animated series, because they all have their own little different backstories. When you bring up all the different villains, they all have like a bunch of different versions of them, and I like all of the different versions of Poison Ivy and how she's progressed and moved along. And yeah, she's a well drawn, well written, and I can appreciate it because she's a gender.
I was gonna say that's the primary reason. She's redhead.
These gingers have to stick together.
I always like Mary Ann better.
But I mean, I think my favorite version of her, or favorite storyline that she has of her, is in the Justice story. That's where all the villains become the heroes, kind of. And you can see that she can do so much, and her power is actually pretty impressive when she's allowed to do her thing. Creating a complete garden and forest and foods in Africa, in the middle of nowhere. Like, she can just, if she was left to do it, I think she could destroy the earth.
Destroy.
So she's actually very powerful. They just don't ever let her let loose,
But isn't she able to keep the zombies out during the World War Z?
That's what I didn't get a chance to read Deceased, but John said that yeah, she created this entire forest.
Yeah, she creates.
There's like a civilization, and she can provide food. She can provide oxygen for, she can provide everything.
Basically,
for everybody.
God.
Yeah. So she's the way that you see her, like I said, every now and then in her storylines, that you could see like glimpses of like ultimate power with her being able to do certain stuff, but they've never written her to be the overpowering one. You know what I mean?
It's because she's like Josh described the Juggernaut, has all this power, but then goes and robs banks. Like, she has all that power. She could totally be the most badass villain ever, and then she like does shit against ex-boyfriends. Like, it's like, I'm gonna use. I have the world's power at my fingertips. I'm gonna get revenge on that guy who.
I'm gonna burn his apartment down.
Yeah.
Cheating on me.
She's a woman scorned. Hey man, she's a fiery redhead. That's what happens. Okay. She's a woman. We lose our mind and we don't think straight when certain things happen, and we just go all kinds of crazy on you. But yeah, no, Poison Ivy for sure. I think is probably my favorite Batman villain.
All right, my favorite is the Killer Croc. My favorite version of him is from the Suicide Squad movies. Now he's really good in the comic books. He's got that weird genetics that he's turning into basically a crocodile. And what does he do best? Fucking tries to be a mobster. Also is like the Juggernaut, robs banks and gets busted up, ends up in jail, and they give him a jail. And then the Suicide Squad, they give him the jail inside the sewers. So at least they're accommodating.
Well, in the Arkham Asylum video game, that was actually one of my favorite battles, where you have to walk through the sewer of Arkham Asylum, which is where he breaks out of his cell and he's in the sewer, and there's these boards, and you have to kind of crawl really, really, really softly, and like you have this meter that tells you that if you step or you run, you create the sound of vibration, and he just launches at you so quickly, and that's how he just munches you in one bit. But that battle was like so nerve-wracking. I remember I was getting anxiety. I'm just seeing the meter like, and you stop and you think like, oh, if I use my gadgets and I swing across, I can get out of here easily. But what you don't realize is if you swing across and then when you land on the board, you shake the board and he knows exactly where you are and he just eats you. I was like, oh man, I love that battle. That was probably one of the best ones of that whole game.
Isn't part of his backstory too that he was there with the Flying Graysons, like at the circus?
Yeah, he was like a sideshow freak.
He was a
part of the sideshow, and he would like wrestle alligators and other sideshow type deals. He does have a backstory that's a little like, oh, you feel a little bad for him, but they just don't flush it out as well as they did with like Mr. Freeze. Because like he gets picked on, and his mom, remember, wasn't that the issue? Like with his mom, like he did it to help his mom. He died during childbirth. Yeah. So he was abandoned, and I think that's what it was. He died during childbirth. Raised by like an abusive family member because he was a crocodile with that disease, that skin disorder. So he was treated so poorly.
That's good. You got eczema. They throw you in the sewer. That's rough. It's worse than leprosy. All right, as we're still going, so did we get one on the high? Did we get a popular one from Josh yet?
Yeah. I said Mr. Freeze also.
No, you need to put another one.
Yeah, pick another one.
I have to pick another one?
Yeah, Jose.
Well, we need to get 10.
Oh, I got another one that I like.
All right, well, it should go without saying, but obviously the Joker, probably the most iconic villain in comic books overall, and being a number one villain all the way back from issue number 4, I think, is the Joker's first appearance. So you're talking about something way back in 1933 or 34. He's a long-time villain, and he's been portrayed in so many different ways. Most of them pretty good, a couple of them not so hot, but I don't know how you beat Heath Ledger's version of the Joker. Just incredible. I have a soft spot in my heart for the Cesar Romero version. That's what I grew up with as a little kid.
I think if Ledger doesn't die, his version doesn't get put on the pedestal like it did.
Nah,
I'm not saying it wasn't good. I'm just saying that's part of the reverence.
Or the way everybody bashed Heath Ledger when they first saw those first stills. I remember so many people talking so much trash on him, and then when the movie finally came out and we saw that just the way he portrayed it and he acted, and it was fantastic. I don't know how you can. He made
I didn't say it wasn't good.
Nicholson's- He made Jack Nicholson's look like
Yeah.
that, and he just took it a whole nother level. Where it was just like,
How
oh,
much
this
how
guy
much of
is
that
the-
is him versus the script versus the director? There's a
But
lot
it's
of
still
there's a
look
lot
at-
of influence
Look at Jared
on that
Leto's. Look
character.
at Jared Leto's fucking Joker.
And even the director said
They
that he
gave him-
improvised so much of them of those of
Yeah.
this role, like so many of the little mannerisms, so many of the little iconic
I'm just
scenes.
saying. I didn't say it wasn't good. I didn't even say it wasn't my favorite. I'm just saying that if he didn't die, people wouldn't put it on the pedestal that they did.
No, I
No.
disagree.
And
I
unless
disagree.
somebody does die,
Disagree.
they'll never be able to take that
Disagree.
mantle from him.
No,
I disagree.
You know
Sit
what?
down.
It's one of those. It's
Put him
one
in
of those
timeout
things
for 2
where
minutes.
it's one of those things where I was sad to see Heath Ledger go because I enjoyed him so much in things like A Knight's Tale. But
The Patriot.
Um,
The Patriot.
Nah, 10 things I hate about you.
so anyway, but my point is that I wasn't really. It was kind of like with the whole Iron Man thing. When I heard that they cast Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, I was like, oh shit, here we go. And that was the same reaction I had with Heath Ledger and the Joker. I was like, wait, they're casting the dude from Brokeback Mountain. But he did so
don't
well
talk
in
shit
that
about
role.
Brokeback Mountain.
And I don't think. I mean, I'm sure for the normies, right? All of the regular people out there that don't know jack about Jack, I'm sure that they got excited because Heath Ledger had died and like, oh, it's his fine. Like the Brandon Lee people. But I think that even if he had survived, I think his time as the Joker would still be legendary. I mean, there's just no way around it.
That was
Nolan
that was
Burst
a
would have
great
been-
performance.
Would still be going right now
Mhm.
with him.
What would
Yeah,
still be
that
going?
was one of the greatest performances of being a Joker. Like it was amazing.
So what you guys are saying is that being his Enter the Dragon has zero to do with the clout that thing held.
Yeah.
Okay, you say yeah. Does everybody else say yes?
Me liking the Joker that had nothing to do with even putting him on this pedestal had nothing to do with him dying. I just
Yeah,
thought his acting was amazing.
Okay,
Like,
that's
he-
you. That's you. We'll see.
Seen the very
Comment below. Comment
seen the
below.
very beginning of the movie, and he's in that mask and he's playing and all of a sudden he takes the mask off and you see and he just fucking goes, dude. He takes that role and he just puts you there. He fucking killed it, dude. 100% killed it. And his death had nothing to do with the way I felt about his portrayal of that character.
Yeah, so I would agree that obviously when he did the role he was still alive, so his death didn't contribute to his portrayal. But like I said, I do think you have to factor in what like regular people, how they're like emotionally driven. I'd be willing to grant like 10 to 15% of the renown that he received for that.
And that's
role
all I'm saying.
being due to his death. Yeah,
I didn't
I'm not
say
saying
he wasn't my favorite. I didn't say it
Right.
wasn't good or iconic or anything you guys are saying. All I'm saying is in the realm of the world, he got to be a martyr on this movie, and that carries a lot of weight for a lot of people.
But then
And to
Josh
say
only
that that's
said,
zero,
Josh said 10%.
to say that that's zero, it's not realistic.
Hey, that
it might-
character killed that dude. That dude.
But it might be zero for us, is what I'm saying. For me, his death had no impact on how much I enjoyed that role. In fact, if he had died and it was shitty, I would have just mocked his death,
That sounds like something you do.
So that's how that would roll. I evaluated the man on the basis of his performance, and in that role, he did stellar. His death is irrespective of that.
Yeah.
Joker is so iconic that him taking that role is what killed him.
It's just like too bad all the other Jokers didn't die like that. It'd be like a Superman. It'd be like a Superman curse.
Yeah.
Damn.
You ever seen that picture of somebody passing the Heath Ledger picture to Jack Nicholson and he's so pissed?
Yeah, the Joker would have been nice to have been put to number one, but we still got 3 slots on the list.
But that is number one. We're done. I'm just joking.
Yeah, you could put that as number one because the joke. I mean, that's for me. That's like the number one.
I
villain.
think that goes without saying that Joker's number one for anybody.
Yeah.
But we still got.
What about the Court of Owls as like a whole, as a Batman villain group? Like, I know there's a bunch of different ones, but like that was something different. That was never.
The way that Scott Snyder contributed that into the Batman mythology, and it just made it into something bigger.
Yeah, because it didn't just affect the Batman character; it affected the whole
affected
Batman
Gotham.
family.
Yeah,
Gotham.
everything.
It affected
Dick Grayson's
Dick
great-grandfather. Dick Grayson's great-grandfather is a
He
fucking.
was supposed to be a Talon at some point. And
he was being trained to be a Talon as one of
that
Graysons.
I'll never forget
That was great.
Page when he punches him and the tooth goes flying.
That was so comic. That was such a comic.
But that was so like that moment.
And he has a crown. A crown is
a crown.
Yeah.
But it's like they're going this. It was like this great back and forth, and then he's like, "Well, then explain it to me," and then boom, he just gets him, spits the tooth out, and then the crown out, and he realizes because you were supposed to be a Talon. It's like, yo, what? Like what?
But that sparked though that whole like thing to even go back in time to when Gotham first started, because that brings in the Jonah Hex stuff with how Jonah Hex and the original Arkham, Arkham guy and all of that. Because if you didn't have the Court of Owls,
the founding
you couldn't tie that old West version, you know what I mean, of Gotham starting up with Jonah Hex and the original Arkham starting up because of the shenanigans that was going on there with the owls. And it has more far-reaching effect.
That's a great thing.
Because it's even happening like now in this new series that they're doing, the Battle for Earth 3 or something like that, or the War for Earth 3. Amanda Waller's gone into and has grabbed a Talon from another one of the other universes or whatever, and he's a stronger Talon than we've seen before. It's not like one of our regular ones. Breaks the Owlman's back and all that stuff.
So we've got that on our list here. Not necessarily a top 10 because there's so many we got to get through yet. And I think that we've been going on this topic for a good 45. So let's just rattle some off. I want to do the Riddler.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Penguin. Oh, there you go.
Scarecrow.
Scarecrow. Ventriloquist.
The Mad Hatter.
We had the ventriloquist. Was he not?
No, he wasn't. I said Scarface.
Arthur and Scarface. No, that wasn't the
Scarface.
ventriloquist.
That's two different characters.
Yeah, the Mad Hatter's another obscure villain.
Two-Face.
Oh yeah, Two-Face.
Harvey Dent.
Can we just say that what's his name? Aaron Eckhart did also an amazing Two-Face in that film.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's that's one of the reasons why that film stands so high, is just because every performance is like over the top. Every performance.
Patrick, we said Mr. Freeze already, Patrick. But
what about Bane?
Definitely Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
How can we forget Bane?
Bane on the comic book.
Azrael.
Oh, Azrael.
Would you consider Azrael a villain or a hero or an
anti-hero?
We can put him on the list for now, for sure.
Because he went bad for.
What about Harley?
Time.
What about Harley?
Yeah, Harley Quinn.
Harley's cool.
Either she's the woman version of Deadpool.
And how do we not have Catwoman on this list yet?
Catwoman's up there too.
Is Catwoman really a villain?
She's also flip-flops, Catwoman.
Yeah. So it's like, are we talking about ones that have consistently been villains? Because everybody we've picked have consistently been.
Has Azrael consistently been a villain?
Well, that's what I mean. Is that could you consider Azrael or Harley?
No, Azrael's an anti-hero. He's not a villain.
We could put Red Hood on here.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
flopped
Hush.
back and forth.
Hush,
Oh,
yeah.
Hush is a villain. Hush is a villain.
Okay, so we've got a good amount now. We're not missing any super like, oh my god, how do we not fucking put that guy on theirs?
What about
Jason Todd?
what about Superman?
Yo, Josh, we were on the same wavelength. I was like, you guys want to argue? I mean, shit. What about Superman? Yeah.
Well, what anybody who doesn't go into the top 10 automatically drops into the honorable mention that we'll put in there. But so we got Mr. Freeze. I think he's an automatic in for the top 10. Anybody disagree with that?
No.
All right, so Mr. Freeze is in. Joker.
For sure.
Joker's in. Now the trifecta of Riddler, Penguin,
Two-Face.
Two-Face.
Yeah,
Two-Face.
Riddler, Penguin, Two-Face.
What about the Mad Hatter?
Ooh.
Well, do we all agree on Riddler, Penguin, Two-Face?
For
Yeah.
sure.
Well,
For
he's
sure.
all, hey, leave Superman out of this.
You know which one? But another one we haven't really picked up on is what about
Anarchy.
Solomon Grundy?
Solomon
Oh.
Grundy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, I would
Another
put
good one.
Solomon Grundy, Clayface, and Scarecrow, Killer Croc. They're all kind of
Yeah.
and Poison Ivy. They're the
You
rest
would
of the like
totally
Arkham Asylum rogues gallery that's constantly got the revolving door of going in and out of that he's always fighting with.
All right,
The other
so
ones are special occasions.
in the top 5 so far, we got Two-Face, the Joker, Penguin, Riddler, and Mr. Freeze.
What about Killer Croc?
Killer
Killer
Croc.
Croc.
All right, Killer Croc.
Yeah,
Croc.
it's like
Killer
Killer
Croc's
Croc.
in at 6. We got 4 slots to go.
Poison
Roz
Ivy.
out.
You gotta put a girl in there. Equal representation.
Did we put Ivy in there already?
Yeah. No, put her in there.
So does she want to get in there because she deserves to be in there, or does she get
Yes.
in there
Yes,
because
no,
of
she
affirmative
deserves
action?
Dude, how
I-
many times
okay.
has she
I would
seduced
actually
that
put
man?
Josh
Josh pick
gets the
Poison
vote.
Ivy
Josh gets the
over
vote
Harley.
Josh gets a vote on affirmative action on this one. Is she
Oh,
in
yeah,
there, Josh?
Poison
Okay.
Ivy definitely deserves it.
I agree. I just wanted to. So we've
You
got.
You wanted to test me?
Oh yeah, I wanted to test you. We got 7. Now, who's not in there right now so far? Who's not in there is Ra's al Ghul, Clayface, Scarecrow, Solomon Grundy, Red Hood, Bane, Osriel, the Ventriloquist, the Court of Owls, Mad Hatter, Harley, Catwoman, and Hush.
I think Roz and Bane have to be in there. Those are
For sure.
integral
Yeah.
parts of his. He's constantly going against, and Bane just wrecked him
Yeah, they've definitely
a few
taken.
times.
Both of those guys have definitely taken an increased level of prominence as villains in more recent years. You know, you couldn't point back to like the '60s and say, "Oh, those two guys were great." But if you come to the '90s were all about those two.
Well,
You know?
aren't you forgetting another lady, Lady Shiva?
Nah.
If we're gonna
Yeah,
put
yeah.
Lady Shiva, then we should put Talia.
Well,
Yeah.
Lady Shiva was a big. She was a big thing when he came back after he got his back broken. Plus,
Yeah,
he's always
but
been a
Bane
villain.
is-
No,
Bane-
but Talia gave him his son. So
Yeah.
I would pick Talia over Shiva.
So you're just picking booty over actual villain. Because Talia
No,
just
what we're picking is Ra's al Ghul, who's the constant.
Nothing's more villainy than a woman that has your child and breeds him to want to kill you.
That is true.
that is true.
Pretty brutal.
Yeah, you're right.
Roz.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
She wasn't
So-
just a booty call.
So is Talia? Does Talia take out Clayface
No.
and Scarecrow?
No,
No.
I
no.
don't think so.
Okay, because right now we got Mr. Freeze, we got Ra's al Ghul, Poison Ivy, Killer Croc, Riddler, Penguin, the Joker, Two-Face, and Bane. We got 9. We got 1 spot to go, and so that 1 spot, that's Clayface, Scarecrow. I mean,
Put the Court of Owls in there.
What?
You know what though? Listen, I've had my opinions of her, but if you guys have read the Punchline story,
Get out of here.
no,
Wait,
no,
I'm not saying she's not a
Get out of here.
she exposed that Bruce Wayne was using company money to fund it, to fund
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
his escapades, and therefore breaking the law, and sick the IRS on him.
And the IRS is the bad guy in that story.
Yeah, we should definitely put the IRS on the list.
The bad guy in that story is the writer who did that shit.
The IRS is the bad,
That's right.
They need to be on there.
Batman
Real life
has to
villain.
obey the IRS more than any of the other villains.
It should be number 1.
Actually, the biggest villain in Batman's rogues gallery is Bob Kane. Robbing Bill Finger for being penniless
Yeah.
on his dying bed. Put Bob Kane at the top of the list. Fuck that guy.
Sucker.
No, if you have to pick from that list, I think Scarecrow is probably at the top of it.
Yeah.
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 Right.
You fight Scarecrow more often than Clayface.
It's true. He
And the
does.
Scarecrow fucks with him hard.
And he always gets
Scarecrow.
sprayed. He always gets sprayed and he's fucked up for a few
I'm gonna
hours.
go fight the Scarecrow, but I'm not gonna wear a mask or any kind of like,
He
protection.
hasn't learned.
Even though this is the 15th millionth time I've done it.
I think I've grown a tolerance to his toxin. Oh,
Is that-
fuck, not again.
Is that what he's doing? Is he like huffing like the fear like gas? To, like,
He's like, he's in the
He's like,
Batmobile.
oh
doing
shit, that was the
micro-
Omicron toxin.
He's in the Batmobile with the fucking brown paper bag of just huffing.
That's right.
I'm gonna fuck
He's
you
a-
up
he's
now,
a-
Scarecrow.
he's
He's got like,
addict.
he's got
He's
like
an
a little
addict
yellow
now.
ring around his nose and mouth from.
He becomes a fucking
He's
junkie.
an addict now. He's a big time addict.
He's just fighting him for a free fix.
There you have it. Those are the top 10 Batman villains as voted by our people on the live stream and the crew for Collection Connection. Come back every week and we'll have another crazy top 10 story for you folks.